Good morning, Rockland. Good morning. It's so nice to be here again. This is Mark Brownstein from Emerald Medicare. I've been on this show for about 2.5 years at the same time slot, first Friday of every month. And I'm always grateful to be a part of this community and always grateful to have a guest today. I have Candice Whatley here with me from the Legal Aid Society of Rockland County. But just as a reminder, the work that we do with so many people in this county and all across the region is really about helping people understand Medicare. It's really an important topic that people do need to understand once they get to that age. And they want objective, unbiased advice. And so, we have an office in Stony Point. We have an office in Nyack. And emeraldmedicare.com is our website. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us for any reason at any time. So Candice, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
It's so nice to have you here. We know each other because we're both in what's called Leadership Rockland, which is a great organization of leaders in Rockland. So
absolutely.
It's been nice to get to know you as well. And so you work with Legal Aid Society of Rockland, but you're born and raised in this area. Tell me just a little bit about your background and what got you here, and the path that you took, maybe in your career, and then we'll get into the details of what you do for the community.
Sure. So yes, I was born and raised in Rockland, born and raised in Spring Valley. I attended schools in the East Ramapo School District from kindergarten all the way through high school. Thereafter, I left to go to college. I attended college at SUNY Albany, and then went to law school at the University of the District of Columbia. And I found my passion, which is to work with children and the law, meshing those two together. I became an attorney for the child as soon as I graduated from law school, started in New York City at the Legal Aid Society of New York City. And 11 years later, found myself at the Legal Aid Society of Rockland County, where I'm now the Deputy Director of our Children's Rights Division.
So, being in children's rights, you have children as well, don't you?
I do.
Yes. You have, how many?
I have 4 children.
Uh-huh.
I have, my oldest is 11, I have twins who are 9, and I have a 4-year-old. My husband also was born and raised here in Rockland County, right here in Nyack, and attended Nyack Public Schools.
Well, that's great. Again, it's always nice to know where people come from, how they got to Rockland. We were just talking over breakfast, and what a great county Rockland is, but what a great community it is that we both serve. And so, we were talking about how you got here, but also, coming from the Legal Aid Society of New York City, that must have been a very different environment than here. And so what are some of the things that you'd say you learned from New York City that is really, really helpful here in Rockland?
Working in New York City is definitely a lot different from here. The biggest difference is the number of people there. Obviously, New York City is much larger than Rockland, so you're working with a larger number of people. But I did a similar work with clients in New York City. Again, I was working with children in family court and families who weren't able to afford representation. And there's no greater reward than that, to be able to provide representation for children who need it and make sure that they have a voice in court.
So for the purposes of awareness of Legal Aid Society of Rockland County, you do so many things, but even specifically in the child division, how much awareness is it? What are some of the services that you provide that has such a great need that people probably don't know what's available?
Yes, so we have thousands of clients. We handle thousands of cases. We're assigned to represent children on all different types of family court matters. So that includes custody cases, neglect cases, abuse cases, and then juvenile delinquency cases. And most recently, we've started an education and community advocacy project so that we can provide services and representation for children in education matters and make sure that they have equal access to education. We provide representation at suspension hearings, in school disciplinary matters, and in special education hearings as well. We also help families to locate services for their children if they need them.
You know, I have a personal connection to Legal Aid Society for the work, for some of the needs that I've had in my life, and I know how incredibly helpful you folks have been. And so it seems that you service a lot of people, but probably a lot of people aren't aware of what you're able to do. And I'm sure by the time they get a hold of you, they are probably incredibly grateful.
Yes, that is our goal. That is our mission. We say that we want to be the voice for equal justice in our community. We provide a whole host of services. And it's important that families know that we're available to provide that assistance, because oftentimes the earlier that you obtain legal representation, the better it is. You can avoid certain pitfalls. So we always want to make sure that our community knows that we're here to assist them. Our services are completely free of charge. All you have to do is call our hotline, and someone is there to answer the call and steer you in the right direction.
What is that phone number, Candice?
So our free intake hotline number is 800-454-3627.
And I will ask you that again, because there are clearly people on the air who, if not themselves or their grandchildren, knows people who may be of need of some part. I mean, again, the list that you just went through was a fairly extensive list of services that you provide. But it's really about, for you, in the work that you do, about representing children. And is it in the school district? And how do referrals come to you? From what sources? Is it from the individual, from the school, or what other sources are there?
So in terms of education matters, anyone can call us. If a parent notices that, their child is struggling in school and feels like they may need a little bit of extra assistance but don't feel like they're able to get that on their own, that parent should call our office, because we can help them to get the right assessments and make sure that the school district provides all of the services that are available. If a parent has a child who's suspended from school, they should absolutely call us as soon as that child is suspended, because we can represent the child at a suspension hearing and make sure that we're asking all of the right questions and protecting the child's rights. All you have to do is give our hotline a call. You would speak to someone on that line, and they would point you in the right direction and make sure that you're able to speak to an attorney.
Those are, for a parent, my one son is 19, and knowing the struggles that he went through at some level, I was not in touch with the Legal Aid Society. And, advocating for my son at the school system was a part-time job.
Absolutely.
And it took a lot out of me, and it took a lot out of my career. And so that kind of resource has got to resonate with so many people. And again, so glad that you're on this radio show with me, because for people in this community, in this county, to know that the services are free is extraordinary.
Yes, absolutely. It's so important. It's so important because these matters can be very complex. Oftentimes, the school district has their own attorney that they're working with and getting advice. So it's important for parents and families to have the same.
So about how many children or how many people in general in various divisions does the Legal Aid Society of Rockland service?
So, we have just sort of come through this major pandemic, and during the pandemic alone, the Legal Aid Society served 3,039 individuals. That's during the pandemic. And prior to the pandemic, we've served 50,000 Rockland County residents who were eligible for services. We serve thousands of clients a year. And we know that there are so many more out there who need our assistance and who are eligible for our services.
So what are some of the other sort of impressive numbers of people you've serviced, and maybe in other divisions, or what are some of the other numbers that you can share here?
Yes, so we have several divisions. So let me just break that down.
Please.
We have our Children's Rights Division, which I've spent time describing. We also have a Housing Division. We offer representation to those people who may be facing eviction proceedings to make sure that their rights are protected. We also offer foreclosure defense, public benefits, assistance with SSI, disability, unemployment, and Medicaid. Domestic violence and divorce representation, HIV/AIDS representation, and representation with concerning disability benefits. And during the pandemic, we served 1,108 individuals on tenant advocacy matters. We served 789 individuals in our foreclosure defense unit, and restored or obtained 274, worked with families to restore or obtain 274 public benefit matters.
Those are incredibly impressive numbers for a team of people. That's how large?
So our staff currently consists of 22 people, the majority of which are attorneys, but we also work with social workers, we have paralegals, we have advocates and support staff who assist in our organization.
So I think we have a caller. Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning. Hello there.
Thank you so much for your program and for your guests. I have a question for your guest about legal aid services. I'm a therapist in the county, and I have a couple of clients who are dealing with extremely conflictual domestic issues in the courts, and they're being represented by legal aid lawyers, and they've been complaining to me that their calls are not being returned or that they're not being listened to. I understand that, the services are free and that everyone is overwhelmed, but I'm just wondering if someone is dissatisfied with the representation that they're getting, is there an option to get a different lawyer? Or some of them are afraid that, if they start making waves, that the guys won't call them back, or, you know what I mean? There's a lot of intimidation here, and maybe some of the lawyers don't quite understand the whole coercive control aspect of domestic violence, and, are very, I don't know, it's just been, some of them have had very dissatisfactory experiences. So I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are about that and what they could do to really utilize the services better.
Okay, yes. I want to be clear because I know that sometimes there are different agencies throughout the county that provide similar services to ours, and sometimes the agencies are confused. It may or may not be our exact agency, but if at any time you have a concern about reaching an attorney in our specific office, you can always give a supervisor a call. I'm happy to assist you. I can't answer specifically about the case that you're referring to. I'm not sure what that is, but you can always call and speak to a supervisor. We're there to help. And again, I'm not 100% sure that it's our office because sometimes our office is confused with other organizations that offer similar services.
So in other words, if they're referred through, let's say, family court or or the Center for Safety and Change, would that go to you, or would that go to, are there other, I'm just confused about, what agencies there could be that we could address these issues.
Right, so there are several different agencies that, because the cases are broken down into, different individuals. In family court, we only represent children. We don't represent parents in family court.
Right.
There are other agencies who would represent the parents. And so that's why I say you may be referring to a different agency. And yes, the court does assign attorneys to parents when they're not able to afford attorneys. But that may not be our agency that you're referring to. But again, you can always call our hotline. You can ask for me specifically, and I can steer you in the right direction for sure.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your call. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
So, thank you, caller, for calling in. So Candice, in terms of the other divisions, again, you were speaking of the numbers and the number of people that you service, and it seems that there are so many different areas within, the work that you folks do. Since COVID and since all the rules have changed around foreclosure and home ownership, have you seen an uptick, and how has that gone in the courts? Have you been able to save people's homes? Have you been able to, again, I work with seniors, and so seniors, they're on fixed income, and so they're dealing with different sets of issues.
So there was a moratorium in place for a long time during the pandemic, and we anticipated that when the moratorium ended, there would be an uptick in cases, and our unit is there helping with all of these different types of matters, and for sure we've seen an increase in cases since we're coming out of the pandemic.
Have you, what's changed now? In other words, the moratorium is off. I believe, I'm not sure. And are foreclosures happening more often? Are people more concerned or getting information from, the banks and their landlords?
So I am not the one who handles foreclosures specifically, but anybody who has a question about foreclosures should certainly call our hotline, and our foreclosure attorney, the person who handles foreclosures, could definitely assist with those matters and knows a ton more about the details concerning foreclosure matters.
So we spoke earlier. You're in the court often. You're in the trenches. You're in front of the judges defending the children's rights. And so there must be great joy in doing that. And, again, working with the child who has had so many different challenges maybe in their life, to be able to sort of support them and advocate for them.
Yes, it's so rewarding. It's so important that children have a voice in family court matters, and matters that affect their lives. You'd be surprised. We represent children from infancy all the way until they're sometimes even 21 years old. And you'd just be surprised at the insight that a lot of children possess, and what they bring to proceedings. It's so important that their voice is heard. It really does make a difference in the process.
How are you able to secure their safety in situations where that's at risk?
Well, we work on an interdisciplinary team with a social worker. We also work with a paralegal, and we work with community service providers. We focus on collaborating and providing what we call holistic representation, to make sure that we're servicing, all areas of need for individual children. And if safety is an issue, we work with community providers to address any safety concerns and any concerns that may come up for our clients.
So Mark Brownstein here from Emerald Medicare, here with Candice Whatley from the Legal Aid Society of Rockland County. I'm always warmed by the insights and the knowledge and the skills that people have in Rockland County that I'm able to bring to the show. And I know that an important area for me to be in front of people. We talked about it, especially through COVID and having to do Zooms. And I know as an organization, and certainly maybe not you per se, but you do seminars, you do workshops, you help. You want to get the word out. So how do you do that? How do people, again, your phone number again, but also ways in which you communicate to the community?
Yeah, so our free hotline is 800-454-3627. And if anyone has a legal matter that they feel they may need assistance with, absolutely give us a call on our hotline and someone will steer you in the right direction. We do try to meet with different community organizations, parent groups, and work with other community organizations who provide services to ensure that the community knows that we're there, and so that you can access representation at the earliest point that you need it.
So you have a benefit coming up soon.
We do.
And I wanted to give you the opportunity to mention that as well.
Yeah, so yearly we have a gala. Normally it's in the fall, But because of COVID, we had to postpone it to the spring. But our gala is coming up on May 25th from 6 to 10. And it's a way that it's one of our fundraisers. One of the ways that we're able to provide free representation is because we have sponsors and people who donate. And so we'd like to invite people to visit our website at www.legalaidrockland.org. If you're able to donate, please do. And if you're able to join us for our gala, we invite you to be there. We love to meet members of our community in person.
So one of the numbers that I had seen in something that I had read for your organization is that there's, again, potentially 50,000 eligible people who could be using some aspect of assistance from Legal Aid Society of Rockland County. That's a huge number. And the other thing I just want to reflect on, and it certainly is said in your materials, but your goal is to prevent families from becoming homeless or seniors from having homes foreclosed, but also, and most importantly to you and your passion, is to ensure that the youngest amongst them have their voices shared in family court. And I think that's just so wonderful to know that there's someone like you. Are you and others in family court, or is it mostly you?
Our unit consists of 5 attorneys, paralegal, and a social worker. So it's certainly not just me who's in court. There are other attorneys who are in court assisting children. We do spend a lot of time in court because there are so many matters, but it's definitely not a unilateral effort. I work with a great team of colleagues who are all very passionate about this work, love our clients, love our community, and love to serve. So, yeah, I am so grateful to work with such a dedicated group of colleagues.
And your location?
So we're located in New City at 2 Congers Road.
Okay, so that's right across from the courthouse, right?
Right across from the courthouse.
Right, in sort of downtown New City.
Right across from the family court, I should say. I know that our housing unit makes appearances in courts across the county, but it is right across from the family courthouse. 2
quick questions as we get ready to wrap this up. How you get funding and the biggest challenges that you face.
So a lot of our funding is grants, funding from the state, and then also we have just supporters in the community who care about our mission and donate. So we also rely on donations, and we're grateful to all of our funders. The New York Bar Foundation was integral in starting our education and community advocacy project. And we're grateful to all of our funders because we truly could not do this without them.
And the greatest challenge that you face in the division that you work in?
We always want to do more. We want to do more. As you said, as we assess the need in the county, the need is great. But we're a staff of 22. So the more funding that we have, the more donations that we receive, the more services we're able to provide. And I think, that's the greatest challenge is being able to do more when the need is there and the need is so great.
Do you actually help people get onto Medicaid?
I know that we do help with public benefits. So
right.
Medicaid is a part of that. We have advocates who work on those types of
services. I'm only curious because of the work that I do, there's always a group of people who are in that income bracket where Medicaid becomes something to consider in conjunction with Medicare. So I wasn't aware that you get involved in that at all, but that's certainly something for us to talk about in the future. So what's your, again, your phone number again and your sort of words for the community on the work that you folks do?
So our free intake hotline is 800-454-3627. And my words to the community are that the Legal Aid Society of Rockland County is here to be a voice for equal justice in our community. When you need representation, do not hesitate to call. It is better to get advice early and as often as you need it. We are here for you.
So again, Mark Brownstein, Emerald Medicare. Don't hesitate to call us as well for any Medicare questions that you have. Our services are also proudly free. Offices in Stony Point and Nyack, 845-358-1220. Thank you, Candice, for being here. A true joy. Continued great work. Thank you again.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.